Okay. Hi guys. Hi everyone. How are you all?
Fine.
Hi, good.
Fine, uncle.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Hey, thanks for taking time to do this um, video session about leadership. I thought it'll be good to hear from you guys. You are in an age group of 15, 16 years. I know, Gnaselvan, you are secondary 3 or in other forms and means. If someone is watching this video, don't want them to go confused. So that is 9th standard um, in another terminology, but you are secondary 3, right?
Yeah.
All right. And Hari, you have just completed your O-level or 10th standard.
Yeah.
Okay. And Shiva, you are Sec 4 or O-level, which is, again, 10th standard, currently running. Okay, good. Thanks for allocating time to come for this discussion, guys. So what we are going to do today is to hear from you your views about leadership, okay? What's going on today in the world? We're not going to talk about COVID or what you are going through because of this situation. This is everybody's new norm today. Put that aside for a while. And from your perspective, what we are going to touch on is what is leadership from your viewpoint? Maybe talk through what you know as leadership. Probably there might be 1 or 2 stories that you can relate to what you have been doing. It could be your own personal, it can be things in the school that you have gone through. And then discuss some fab points. Maybe this is just a discussion forum. It's not that I'm going to be talking. You guys are going to be talking. You guys are going to exchange your views. And we'll, at the end, wrap up with the final ideas from the current situation, as in how, as a country, you are seeing the current pandemic situation is well handled from a leadership perspective, not from the issue perspective, from a leadership perspective. Does that sound good?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, all right. Good, great. Let's start with you, Hari. So what is, in your opinion, leadership is about? Your view.
Well, to say leadership, it's like a position where not everyone gets to play. Like leadership, some people say like he's like a born leader and something like that. Well, I do not believe, or I do not like go that point, because nobody is born being a leader. Everyone is made into a leader. Everyday things, whatever he's been through, and all of his activities, his discipline, everything matters. So it's more like of becoming a leader than being born a leader. And leaders of nowadays are becoming better than what we have seen in history. Like example, dictators. Well, they didn't have good kind of leaderships, but then now people with democracy, they're taking good leadership of the countries and running the countries well.
Good insights. I really like the way you positioned yourself about what you think leadership is about. Key points that you shared is leadership is just not a position, and people don't born, and it is during the phase of becoming a leader they are made rather than born. That's the way you shared. And also the final touch point you made was, it's not a dictatorship. It is more of very fine-tuned leadership that you started seeing all over, and especially more specific to country-based leadership. Good. Thanks. And is there a story that you can relate to? Is there something that you have come across? It could be your own personal, or it can be something that is your school related.
Yes, like I would say, like when I joined 10th standard, leaving my other years, I was not given the position of being the class leader or the monitor. So for being 10th standard, I got elected as being the class monitor. Well, I just thought it was like a carefree job. And I was like, never mind. Then soon my principal and everyone got serious about being the leader, and they gave me certain responsibilities which I have to take care of. Then I felt what it takes to be a leader was actually something much more. Like for example, when the teacher's gone, it's a really hectic job to keep your class quiet. They can go very haywire. So a leader is someone like it's not someone who the class like listens to forcefully. Like I have to make my classmates understand why we should keep quiet or why we should study. So leadership made me into a very disciplined and a good person with good values.
Okay. I'm just taking note of some of the key words, not as a full sentence. Leadership, and you brought discipline to leadership. That's one of the areas a leader should be disciplined enough self. Then only he or she can lead the team. It's not about enforcing. It's about bringing everybody together. Great insights, and we're really glad that you took on that role in your 10th standard. And also, just for people who might be watching this, right? Hari had been a Singaporean. However, last couple of years, he's been studying in India, more structured school, and he's been there, and he has a flavor of what education system is in Singapore that he has gone through, and what it is being alone, taking his own, taking care of his own self, because the family parents are here in Singapore while he is alone in India doing this education as a resident education program, academic program. So on his own, he has been bringing his own values. Thanks for sharing your new experience in your 10th standard being a class leader. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to Shivaanjani. What is your view about leadership first, and some thought points that you would like to share?
Okay. To me, leadership is just basically one's level of responsibility on something. It can be both physically and mentally. So, just for an example, as simple as doing your own homework after school requires your own self leadership. The leader in you is telling you to do this, take your own initiative to do this. So, you're doing it. So in everyday life, you do have to be honest to yourself, and you do have that little leader in you provoking you to do this and do that and do that. Another example would be, for example, taking care of your younger brother or sister. That takes some leadership as well. So you have to make sure that they abide by the rules, they do everything correctly, they don't get themselves hurt. All of this requires your leadership and requires you to focus on what you're doing, focus on doing the right thing, focus on leading the person in the right way, in the right path. So this is just very simple definition to leadership in my perspective. So to wrap it up, I just think that leadership is required and is in everybody, and they're showing it in their daily lives.
Great. Couple of points, keywords that you brought out. The first and foremost is being honest. You said about self-leadership. Yeah, leading others is one thing. Leading self, which brings back to the disciplined action that Hari shared earlier. You need to be self-disciplined and a self-leader to your own self in order to be a real leader, getting in the direction where you want the team to be following you. The other point that you mentioned, being at home or being in a place where you have siblings, younger siblings, you have this responsibility of assisting them, caring for them, and getting the focus heading in the right direction. Focus is good, focusing on what is the other aspect. So you also made a clarity about focusing on the right thing. Fantastic, Shivanjani. So what are one or two of your own personal experience that you may have come across in the school environment?
Personally, something that happened last year, it's very, very common. I wasn't focusing well in school. I wasn't getting good grades. And I had to figure out what I was missing, figure out where I was lacking and where I needed help.
Mm-hmm.
So something that my friend actually pointed out that I did and I didn't notice that I had done so was I started focusing on which part of the subject I wasn't doing well. For example, social studies requires a lot of essay writing and source-based writings. So in the source-based writings, there are particular formats to follow. For example, if there's a purpose question, there's a 3-paragraph format, and other types of questions, there are a lot of formats to follow. And I realized that I wasn't going according to the formats that was assigned, which was really pulling my marks down. And I realized why I wasn't doing so was because I wasn't sure on how to do it. So I had to go to my teacher and ask for help. I asked my tuition teachers for help, and I finally found where and how to get myself back up. And I did get my grades up. So something just as small as this does require the leader in you to help you bring that out. So self-discipline, self-leadership in all is just very, very important.
Cool. Thanks for sharing, even though it was a blind spot, so to speak. I'll touch on the blind spot thing for clarity in a while. Thanks for being honest and brave, even to say that I was not doing well. Well, that kind of shows your courage. And courage, even though you did not say, that courage is another quality of a leader, right? A leader should have courage, should not be hiding behind something and trying not to do certain things. Just being open, courageous is a fantastic thing. What your friend helped, of course, your friend was also showing leadership quality because something that your friend saw was not visible to you. Reason why we call that as blind spot is, well, in a couple of years, probably you folks maybe start driving, okay? While driving, there is a side view mirror, right? Not the rear mirror, side view mirror. In the side view mirror, sometimes you won't be able to see a car just beside you is so close, which will not be visible until it reaches very close. And that is called blind spot, okay? And that's the reason when they teach you how to drive, they will try to do a head and neck turn to see what is coming behind, right? It's a practice globally that happens in order to avoid that blind spot. The latest cars are coming with additional piece of mirror attached, additional piece of view positioning, which clarifies the blind spot. But back to our scenario, sometimes we won't know what we are doing, we are missing, and somebody else have to show that. And as a leader, you're accepting it, acknowledging it, and taking action. First and foremost thing, you took an action. Second, your self-realization. Self-realization is another quality of a leader. In order for a leader to take a big step forward and bring the team together with him or with her, self-realization is much needed. And that self-realization on the self and also transferring that to his teammates, bring the whole team up to an extraordinary next level. Great points, shared, Shivanjani. Anything more you want to add?
If I could just relate back to what Hari had said previously, he has actually moved from Singapore, studied in Singapore, and then he moved to studying in India, which personally I think it's a big deal and a big step to take. because I can't adjust to changes very quickly, and from based on what we've talked about, based on what I've observed, I think he's handling it pretty well. That also requires that leadership in you. So I really applaud you for that.
Awesome, man. Awesome. All right. Well, you guys are showing leadership qualities right in here in this conversation, right? It's not only showing, it is recognizing, it is acknowledging, it is things that you are able to bring out as an individual, right? Well, terminology wise, you folks are called what, Gen Z, right? In the community. So the Gen Zs are literally a group of people who are having a better thought process when it comes to leadership. That's my personal observation, just sharing with you folks. All right, without any further ado, Mr. Gnaselvan,
Yeah, yes.
what's in your mind about leadership? Tell us more.
When I ask myself what is leadership, two things comes into mind. A leader, everybody has leadership in them, but it is only a step if they want to take the initiative to be a leader. As you can see, our prime ministers and many other people like those Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and many more, they have all had leadership in them. They took the initiative to shape a world into a better place. So, as you can see, I'm wearing a t-shirt that has a wolf. There are two types of wolf in us. One is black and one is white. The black wolf is filled with fear, anger, envy, jealousy, greed, and arrogance. As for the white wolf, it is filled with peace, love, hope, courage, humility, comparison, compassion, and faith. So, as you can see, sometimes this white and black wolf mix together and give us a feeling of risk. It is our initiative to take the risk if we want to take the step forward to become a leader. Yeah.
Wow. Really a wow, because, well, may I ask you to stand a little bit? I'm not able to see your wolf. Okay, all right. Even though you are wearing a wolf, which is almost looking like a black wolf,
Blue, yeah.
bluish, blackish, a bit darkish,
Yeah.
but the way you're putting across what's in your mind, the way you're sharing what leadership that you're envisioning, you're more like a white wolf, right? But thanks for sharing that black and white wolf story. Okay, it is indeed very refreshing when people at your age talking about black wolf and white wolf. You said it right. The choice is ours. Whether we want to choose the path of a black wolf or a white wolf. Do I want to get stuck with the emotions of anger, jealousy, and getting myself stuck into something that is not really taking me anywhere, not really taking people whom I am going to be touching anywhere, versus happy, joy, sharing, giving, and loving. That's the white wolf, and that's going to be very much inviting, right? And then interestingly, I'm wearing white today. Thanks. I'm a white wolf. Okay. Thank you. And
Okay.
back into your earlier summarization about leadership, and then you pointed out people like Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, our PM, and you listed quite a lot of people, right? It's good. And what I am seeing in you, Gnaselvan, is that you are able to grasp all those and showing your own qualities. Okay, it's not imitating somebody. Leadership is about you have that urge in you, and that is a reason why four of us are talking today, right? We know we have a bigger population outside. We know there are quite a lot of people that we can be talking to. And you folks can be doing something else today, but we are sitting and then talking about leadership. Is it a big deal? Yes, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. Like all of you shared about self-realization, self-assessment. Everything starts from self. The core is self. We all need to know who we are. And from that who we are emerges our own qualities to be a leader to our own self, then taking ourselves forward into the next level and the next stage. Gnaselvan, is there a story, is there a situation that you have come across in your neighborhood, in your school, where you can share with us?
What was the question again? Sorry.
So any situation or which has happened in your school, or it could have happened in your own neighborhood, where you saw this leadership either in you, or it can be somebody else very close to you, where you saw that leadership stood out in that situation. More
Okay.
recent real life thing.
Okay. So when I first come into secondary school in Sec 1, I was given a chance to be a leader in my class, but I did not portray it correctly, and I was taken away the leadership authority. So I did some research, I learned my lesson and do what is right. And now I'm in secondary 3. They have given me another chance of leadership, and it has been about 5 months, and my role is still intact and hasn't been taken away from me. So I think it's a very wonderful.
Fantastic. So there are these sayings where people say that failure is a stepping stone for the next level. I see it differently from a leadership attribute, which is persistence. It's not failure. Failure brings learning. That learning pushed you to really research about what is that I did not do well? Why I did not do well? What should I be doing? Sorry, go ahead.
The mistakes that I made, I just correct them. Yeah.
So it was a chance, and if there is no perseverance, you may not have had the chance of really breaking yourself out of those mistakes, rather learnings, and brought yourself out when the second chance was given. Now you are really a star, getting where you want to be going, right? This is wonderful. So persistence and perseverance are very great, good qualities of a leader in order to take himself forward, as well as that brings the better quality that you should be able to share this when you are leading somebody. Right? Fantastic. Great points shared. And it's wonderful and refreshing to hear your personal views. One thing I want to hear from you all, and probably I'll start with you, Shivaanjani. What are you seeing with the global leaders? I know everybody has interest about the current pandemic situation. Let's not go into what is not working, right? But rather look at it from a broader perspective. What's going on from Singapore's perspective? What are the things that you have not imagined that these things will happen when we are forced into such a situation? Are there something that you can share?
Yeah, when I was much younger, there was the SARS period, but I don't really remember much of it, and I don't know what happened during that period. So growing up, I always wanted to know what was happening and how would a country deal with such a situation, because all I know is history. According to me, I've never seen it, I've never experienced it, and I don't know what it's like because I don't remember it. So I did want to see it. So one part of me is kind of happy that I got to see it and I know what's happening, but at the same time, now that I'm here, it's kind of scary. So I just think that this is actually a pretty good experience for both the younger people and the older people. There's this chance for us to prove to other countries that we can be responsible, that each individual in Singapore, each Singaporean is responsible, and they have the discipline and the leadership in them to follow the rules that were given and to really kind of get themselves together this is a quarantine period and you can make the most of it. So I wouldn't say it's bad situation or a good situation, but you just need to know how to tackle it. And the global leaders are doing a wonderful job. We've been praised as a country, we've been praised by other countries, and we are a good setting example. So as a country, we are like a leader to other countries as well.
Good insights. You put it all, put them all together. You started off as a as a child-minded person. Hey, I missed it. Sorry, everybody were kind of an environment. Can't remember. Now I want to see what is happening. But in reality, when the reality kicks in, he said, "Oh no, I don't want it. I don't want to see this one more time." But however, you also brought up fantastic points about how the global leaders are managing it, and most importantly, the way Singapore is managing it, and the way other countries are learning from it. It's not only for the other countries, it is also for all of us, right? We learn from what's happening currently, and we learn from the leaders, we learn from our PM, all the other ministers. There are grassroots organizations which are literally putting their efforts. There are frontliners who have been literally helping every individual, not caring about their own selves, but they're putting it as a service. So much of learning out there, and thanks for your insights. Okay, let's hear something from Hari as well. He has the opportunity, or had the opportunity, or he's having the opportunity, seeing two sides, two different countries. Okay, not two sides. It's two different countries. How things are. He was in India. It's a huge populated country, second largest population in the world, and how things are working there from a leadership perspective, and how can you relate that with what you are seeing in Singapore, Hari?
Well, when this pandemic struck, well, I was not that happy with the pandemic because I just finished my exams. I felt that I needed some good rest and I could go out. But then the next day, they're like all the malls and everything is closed in India. So I was actually a little disappointed. But then I was just satisfied, like I'm like relieved to know that India is actually taking some actions to curb down the coronavirus patient, the spread of the virus. Well, in India, although the change might be a little slower than how Singapore takes its decision and how people follow it over here, people over there, there's a huge population of illiteracy over there. So some people can't read, can't write. So they need some help of conveying the messages. So it will of course take some time for the whole country to unite as one and to fight against the pandemic. Well, in Singapore, there's no problem of it because I'm sure like, it's 100% of literacy in Singapore, where people are very clear of what to do, and they have very good means of reaching out to the people, radio stations, televisions, anyway, even banners. So people are sure to wear masks when they go out. But the problem, well, what I can see the contrasting context in Singapore and India is, like Singaporeans tend to listen to the government more than what happens in India. Like recently, I've seen many cases of Indians, like how to say, they're just going around without listening to the government, and like they're supposed to stay at home. Actually, India is supposed to be in lockdown now, but then few youngsters are just going around not listening to the government. But then while in Singapore, most of the people are actually just listening to the government because they know it's for their better good. And as well for other countries, they are doing their best, but then not as much as how I thought and expected. Like for example, I expected America to lead this thing, but then seems they have the most cases this time, and now even people are fighting for freedom. I mean, like, well, why is the need of relief from this lockdown? Like, you're supposed to stay in the lockdown for the better of the country.
Thanks for sharing. And what single message that you brought out is leadership is not one size fit all kind of a thing. Okay, the environment is different. irrespective of the environment, the leadership, the way how people perceive, conceive, and act will definitely be different, right? There are steps and actions that Singapore took a lot more at the earlier stages of this pandemic have been helping. When you compare that with US had not gone into any such type of a situation in the past. So this is probably the first ever time they're going through what they are going through. We used to have had the previous experiences. SARS was one of them, but multiple such situations. There is this terminology in corporate world called BCP, right? Business Continuity Plan. Singapore is one of the best BCPs from a government perspective. Why? Well, our natural resources are very, very, very limited, thin, if not negligible. And when that is the case, we have to be prepared. And that's the reason all the national services and the strength of what we are today was built by our great Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. So this is something that is coming in as a culture rather than just the government alone, right? Having said what you just mentioned about well, some of the youngsters are not listening to people in India, it's again the huge population and the enforcement is not as strong. So that is getting into place. And when you look at the bigger picture about the percentage wise, it is not such a huge percentage where you don't see people not following what government is saying. They're doing whatever that needs to be done, and it is getting where it needs to be. So in general, what I heard from you is that every government is doing their best. And some of the things that we are seeing in Singapore is leading as an example for the other countries to follow. Great, thanks, Harry. How about you? Any thoughts to add on to Gnaselvan?
As what Hari has said, Singapore is a small country. Singapore is a red dot. So as a small population of 6 million, of course, people would listen to the government. But as for the bigger countries like America and stuff, they have a hard time listening. As you have seen in the news, many people in America have been protesting about not staying at home, and they are fighting. They just want to go outside and work outside instead of staying at home. And there's another country, New Zealand, also has another big population. They have cut down their local transmission to 1 per day. So it is as low as 1, and they open every house, every estate, every shops back. So I would say if every country would follow New Zealand and Singapore, we can end this global pandemic as fast as we can.
That's a wonderful message, Gnaselvan. Yeah.
And one more thing I would like to add on.
Please.
America has researched on a vaccine that can create by September. I hope that will end on a good note, and we can end this by September.
Well, everybody wants to end this a lot earlier than even September. There are goods and bads, okay? Well, I do not know about the reality of the September date. FDA, Food and Drug Controls of America, right? They do have their own regulation for good, okay? Anything that comes out as a new formulation, new drug, has to go through a long process. It might take anywhere between 18 months to 24 months, okay? Well, maybe they are cut-shorting certain things and they can come out with something possible. All of good. New things are coming out. New medicines are coming out. But at the same time, it is also a wake-up call. All these are happening. While all these are happening, new leadership qualities are coming out. What if this had not happened? We may not be talking today about it. Not just about that, about even an opportunity to talk about leadership, right? And knowing certain things that we may not have heard about. It is giving an opportunity. It is giving a lot of time, extra time for you folks. You are school-going kids. And you've been spending time in the buses, spending time in commute, beyond commute, spending time in doing things which were eating up or eating away your time and energy. Now your energy is given back to you, and you have more time to do things that you love doing. Maybe doing something more fresh. But only thing is you are not able to go out. Yeah, put that aside, but take it in a positive way. And one thing that I liked you shared, Gnaselvan, you pointed out about how New Zealand is literally putting this out and across, right? And then you also mentioned about, yeah, Singapore is a small country. Well, take it as Singapore as a small city.
Okay.
Country is broken down. I go back to India. India is broken down into state. Each state is broken down into a city or a district, then into a city. A district has a leader. What is the leader doing? A city has a metropolitan leadership for that city itself. Or if it is a township, there is a leader for the township. There are people who take instruction, just sit there and take instruction. They're not leaders. People put up their hand, start doing something, are the leaders.
They
And
are
I
the
can
leaders.
see quite a lot of social groups stepping out and assisting people. They're providing food. Some of them are providing food. Some of them are providing shelter. Some of them are providing food. Along with the food, they are even giving out some money to the real needy people where they're not making any money. They're daily wage people, right? They don't go to work, they don't get money, right? So in context of small country or a big country is broken down into smaller granular states and cities. It is doable. And also it is doable from the angle of everybody chipping in and doing their part. That's where leadership kicks in. Like Shivaanjani earlier mentioned, leadership is about big team. I'm leading the team. That's secondary. Primary is I'm a leader to myself. I lead myself. I'm self-aware. And Hari shared that, and you shared that as well, Gnaselvan, with the white and black wolf thing,
Black wolf.
right? So it's wonderful to get all the refreshing thoughts that you folks shared, and I'm very sure that whoever is going to be watching this will get some insights, and your own age group will certainly be happy to see that their thought in some way resonated with what you folks have shared. You three are representing a bigger population, okay? And when I thought about really having this discussion on leadership, the primary focus I wanted to give was thought process that youngsters will have. And I'm very, very, very glad that it's not the basic thing. You guys are like 3-4 folds ahead of what you are seeing as a bigger world, not just within yourself, not just within your community as in school or your neighborhood. You're taking one step outside to see the country, to see the world. That's one reason. That's another reason probably we should thank for the current situation that we are all going through, right? This situation has given us that opportunity to open up. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And well, before we wrap up today's session, I'll just go around, and if you guys have any questions to throw across to the table or specific to me, just throw it across, and then we will touch on those. And at the end of it, we will wrap up.
Okay.
I'll start with you, Gnaselvan. Any burning thoughts in your head that you want to either share or ask as a question?
Not up in my mind for now.
Okay, cool. No worries. Hari?
No. No.
Okay.
Question.
All right, good. Shivaanjani.
You asked us
Mhm.
what is leadership. So you have our generation's point of view. Since
Yeah.
you're a different generation, what about yours?
Okay. Leadership, in my opinion, has no boundary by age. There is no boundary by color, religion, gender. And you can keep adding this. Leadership is certainly an evolution. And there is always this debate about, do leaders born or made? We can continue debating this. I can throw examples, big examples, like Mahatma Gandhi. He was a leader. He was such a simplistic man. People were listening to him. We had Hitler. Of course, a wrong example of a leader, but he was a leader. There
Yes,
were a group of people who were following him. Why people were following him? He had that tone of voice. He had that emotional bonding with the people who want to achieve something. It can be a negative way, but still, he was a leader. A leader is a person, it's not a job. Leader is a person who literally make things really visible to the team that follows him. All the points that you folks mentioned, like what you mentioned, Shivanjani, self-realization. It's not that I want to go out and tell, hey, I'm a leader, I'm a leader, I'm a leader. No, that's not the case. My actions should show people that I care about something, care for people, care for some emotions, care for giving love. And people see a value in it and then start following. When they start following as a leader, if I call myself as a leader, if I see myself as a leader, I have a full responsibility in taking care, giving what is needed for the people, what is definitely something that is doing good for them. Another perspective of a leader is leadership is a process. It is not a job. It's a process going from point A to point B and making a huge difference in this journey, in this path, bringing along people together. And I think you also mentioned another point, Shivanjani, where doing the right thing. Doing things right is different from doing the right thing. Okay? A killer can say that I killed somebody, I did my job in a right way. It's very different from, am I doing the right thing? The thing itself is not right, killing somebody is not right. Right?
Right.
So doing the right thing is a fundamental thing for a leader. A leader can be a person who gives hand to poor people, or he can be at the end of the queue, end of the line, pushing people up. A leader can be a ladder
Okay.
to have people climb on him. A leader can be somebody like a rope in the well. I throw the rope inside to pull someone from the well out to the light. A little bit long-winded, but that's something which I would say, again, it's not the gender thing. It's not the age thing. It's not the generation thing. The way different people or different leaders will see may vary, but at the end of the day, all those qualities that all of you brought to discussion and table today are the ones which matter. Couple of last items. One is there is always this debate. Well, a manager is a leader. I tend to disagree. A leader can be a good manager. Not all managers are leaders. Okay. With that note, just to call out some of the wonderful qualities of leaders that you guys really brought to light today. Started off with disciplined quality. A leader should be disciplined. A leader should be a person who cares for physical and mental attributes. A leader should be a self-aware person, a self-realized person, and then take it forward to others. A leader should be an honest person. A leader should be a focused person. And this focus is, we just talked about focusing on the right thing, right? So focusing on the right thing. And leader should be a person who is aware of the blind spots and always open to understand what a blind spot is, and then correct by himself or herself. And the second last point was persistence. It's not failure. Failure is a learning point, and those learning points are the stepping stones. And take those learnings and be showing perseverance to where you want to really go, where you want to take your team first. And the last point was about culture. Different cultures do have different way of handling mechanism. I mean, I'm just going to share something from my own personal experience. I've handled people, worked with people from New Zealand, Australia, down under, through people in India, rest of Asia, and more specifically Japanese. Japanese are very, very, very soft-spoken, very, very sensitive to the way what they want to do, how they want to achieve, and to the micron level accuracy. That's what they always look at, anything that we do. To a big group of Europeans, Brits, even in Europe, Germans are different. French are very, very different, demanding. Then comes the people in the Western country, US in specific. The way they look at things are different. So culturally, the leaders are, in a way, slightly different, but the human values stay. Wherever they are, any cultural differences, the human values stay. A good leader really respects the human value, the people value. There are multiple terminologies for different styles of leadership. As you grow and when you start expanding, exploring, you will get to know more. And well, if there are more that you are finding, we can have another session and then bring more of your friends into the discussion and talk more about specific areas of leadership. Okay, leadership is a vast, big area, right?
Yeah.
And we only touched about 6 or 7 items of qualities that we talked. Communication is one very important quality. So we can talk about those as well. All right. Well, it's been a very, very wonderful, pretty close to an hour, probably 45, 50 minutes. And thanks for greater insights that you guys shared. Very refreshing, I should say. Very much grounded to the current reality. Very much in sync with acknowledging each other. That was wonderful. Okay. Great. And certainly to conclude today's session, white wolves for black wolves. I know you three, I'm just talking for you and then listening to you, observing you. All of you are white wolves. And my request is make or bring more white wolves in your area where you can touch as leaders, right?
Okay.
Fantastic. Well, stay safe, stay healthy, and do your part, what you should be doing for your home as well as to your country.
Okay.
Wonderful thing, and thank you.